Okay, so the dreaded picky eater. Yeah, so that's something that I actually never experienced as a human because, and I always joke it's because I'm Asian. That's just something that really is very rare in the Asian culture. But the picky eater is something that I know many parents pull their hair about. So today we're going to be talking about what to do to prevent a picky eater.
Hey guys, welcome back to Mommies of Jen. I'm Vanessa.
And I'm Samantha.
And we make videos on how to teach, love, and care for your child. So if you're interested in mommy tips or teacher tips, go ahead, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so that you'll never miss a video again.
Okay, so there are many kids that I've heard of that will not eat anything their parent gives them if it isn't from their select menu. And I'm talking about select, where it's one option for breakfast, one option for lunch, one option for dinner, never deviates. And I hear that it's really a fight, that parents experience kicking, screaming, tears when it comes to food.
Kicking and screaming and tears are not part of my household when it comes to food.
Okay, so how did you do it, Vanessa? Tell us a little bit. What are your top tips to prevent the picky eater?
Okay, so in all honesty, I think I just follow through with how I was raised. And I feel like we always have this discussion, and I really don't give my kids options. I don't at all. Like, they don't have a say. They do have a say, once in a while, when I say, what do you guys feel like having for dinner? Or, now especially Noah that can vocalize clearly.
Yeah.
But I would say no options.
Yeah, so that's something that I gotta say was true about my upbringing and many Asian households, is this is the food that you're given, and you're going to eat the food that you're given.
Yeah.
So what happens if they don't eat it? What happens when I refuse it? It will be here when you are hungry. That's it.
You starve!
That's it. Honestly, right? It's either you eat it or you don't eat it. And it's not that we refuse our kids food, or I was refused food. It was just that you're going to eat this. This is what you are eating. And it's not that my mom didn't know what I liked and didn't try to prepare what I liked. Like, she did know that I had favorites and would, as much as possible, get me those favorites. But if she didn't, she didn't. And I ate what was in front of me.
Yeah, so I think one of the important things, so I had this happen with me 2 days ago with Noah. I made breakfast, and here's mommy in the kitchen making breakfast for everybody because daddy's home and Jade is up and Noah's about to wake up, and I'm so excited because breakfast is ready and I'm gonna surprise Noah with his breakfast. And I made eggs and I made arepas, right? Which is like a cornmeal pancake, Colombian version.
Yeah.
Yes. So I made it, and he's walking down the steps. I hear his little steps, and I turn around and I say, honey, your breakfast is ready. And he goes like, but I didn't want arepa, I want bread. And I don't want my eggs scrambled, I want them fried over easy.
Uh-oh.
And I said, well, number one, thank you, mommy, for a delicious breakfast. Number two, Noah, let's be grateful to the Lord for providing us with food so that we can eat on a daily basis. I said, because if you stop and think, not every child this morning is waking up to a warm breakfast. Yeah. So I said, you have two options. You said you go back and you eat your breakfast, or you don't eat breakfast at all. That's it.
Yeah.
You know what he did? He ate his breakfast.
Which brings us to tip number 2, which is teaching our kids about gratitude. Being grateful for the food that we have, being conscious that there are other families that aren't as fortunate, to know our own privilege. That is something that we need to model for our kids with our own behavior and have conversations about.
Absolutely. You know what? I've gone as far as showing him pictures. Showing him pictures of kids on the internet who are, starving, and who unfortunately, you know, they don't have food options. They don't have clean water, they don't have food. So when you show them those pictures, it's a little bit like alarming. And I gotta tell you, I started showing Noah those pictures very early on. Just because, and by early on I mean like 5, where he has a little more rationale. I wouldn't do that with Jade, but just being grateful and having that conversation with them and saying, listen, we are privileged right now because of the food that we have in front of us.
Yeah.
So you need to eat it.
Yeah.
Our next tip would be to expose your kids to the foods that you want them to eat. And that talks about the exposure has to happen early. And I'm telling you this from experience. I don't know why I have like salmon. When Noah was little, he would live off of salmon and broccoli, and he loved it. And then in the process of our move and not knowing where to go shopping, we sort of stopped shopping for salmon. And so we wouldn't feed it to him for like a couple of months.
Yeah.
When I introduced it to him again, all of a sudden he said, oh, I don't like that. I'm like, how are you gonna tell me you don't like that when that's all you used to eat when you were little? So again, going back to tip number 1, you don't have an option. This is what I have for you, and you're gonna eat it. Now, I understand if your child doesn't like something.
Yeah.
Like Jade. Jade does not like eggs. No matter how I try to feed it to her, she will not eat eggs. So at that point, I do cater to that. I do take that away from the menu for her. But if I know that my kids are not eating something just because they want to be picky, absolutely not. I don't tolerate that.
Yeah, and I mean, again, Asian culture, being exposed to everything really, really young is just part of growing up in an Asian household. So we were introduced to everything, and I actually in our household, the only thing that we weren't really exposed to was sugar. Like, we had very, very limited sugar, and those little things, those habits stick with you, because as an adult, I don't drink anything sweet except sugar in my coffee. I don't drink juices, I don't drink soda, and I never wanted it, and never quenches my thirst. And that's a habit that I didn't even realize I was learning throughout my childhood until now as an adult. I'm like, why don't I like these things? It's because
let me tell you,
given to me. Kids
are a product of their environment. I say that all the time. And if you expose them to certain foods early on, you are going to get those kids to eat that.
Absolutely.
And that goes along the line with the next tip, which is to try again.
Yeah. And so I've done this with even with Ethan. He's a baby. He's only almost 9 months old, and at first he'll make faces with some of the purees that I've tried, and then the second time he loves it. So that's just something that you want to try and introduce again and again. And Vanessa was just telling me before we turned on the camera that even with Jade and the eggs, and now she knows that she doesn't like eggs.
No, because I've tried to feed it to her in so many different ways. Even this week, she's 3. I should have known that since she was 6 months when I tried to introduce them when the doctor said it was okay. She never took it. So it's okay. I know she has this one item that she doesn't like. I know that Noah has this one item that he doesn't like. And I'm not gonna make them to eat that, right? Those are usually our sides. But when it comes to main meals, if this is what mommy makes at home, that's it. I don't go around making 4 different menus for 4 different people.
And the reason it's important, 1, your own sanity. You're not going to be making several meals every night for your own sanity. A second thing is to show the world around you that you are appreciative of what's in front of you, because there's nothing more embarrassing than being at someone's home or in a restaurant and they're giving your child something and they make a face in front of it. We don't want to be in that situation.
Oh my God, you would never dare with the kind of father that I grew up with.
because I've seen it and I've flinched. Like, I remember being a child and seeing another child making that face, and I flinched for that child because I
knew what was coming.
Like, oh no, she's gonna get mad at me for him refusing.
Oh no.
Yeah, So you don't want to be in that predicament, but also because food and eating is such a beautiful part of experiencing life, experiencing different cultures. You want them to be able to visit other countries and other places and taste the different flavors. Something that Ethan's dad has a hard time doing. Like, he has a very, very limited palate. Times where I'm like, oh man, baby, like I want to take you to dim sum with me, but there's literally not one thing at dim sum that I can see you eating. Not one thing at dim sum that I could see you eating. So we don't go to dim sum.
No.
So we want to be, we want to not take that away from our children.
Yep. So those are our tips. If you are interested in this topic and feel like commenting below, go right ahead and do so. If not, go ahead, hit subscribe and ring the bell so that you can get more videos like this.
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.